It's hard. It comes hard. And I apologize, but I love you.
Well, I used to have a little with Price.
Yeah.
Because Price, when we first started our channel and everything, it was all into Gloomhaven. And yes, he is. And so and Price started sending me t-shirts and stuff. And I told him, I said, Price never sends me anything.
Wow.
And then Price tells me, well, Starla doesn't play our game.
Don't.
So that hurt my feelings. So every time we get on the show and talk about Gloomhaven, I would always give a sign. I go, Gloomhaven.
I always gotta get it.
So, but you know what? I had to change my way of thinking. Because I started looking at the game and what it would do for me personally. It would give me hours of free time.
Here we go.
Sometimes you look at things selfishly and you go, oh, wait a minute.
Why?
I really get the benefit out of this.
Why?
So thank you, Isaac, for Gloomhaven.
No.
If I could do a job, I can watch TV.
Why?
Why? I'm just saying.
No.
All right.
That's not what we read.
You know what?
Okay.
That's right.
No, okay. This is the first question.
All right. We're going to get into the questions because we know that's what you guys are here for.
Yeah.
Now, we have a question from the OFPG YouTube channel, one of our subscribers.
Yeah.
And this is from D. Jackson.
Tell them again, you're trying to get some little basic information, you know.
So, Isaac, the first question is Frosthaven an expansion or a standalone game?
It's a beginning question.
Yes, that's a very question. Yeah, just in case, there's anybody here who doesn't know what Frosthaven is, we just kind of wandered into the panel, that's fine. But yeah, Frosthaven is a sequel to Gloomhaven. So it takes the same world, same concepts. We're doing all new campaign, all new characters, all new everything, just tons of new content. And it's cross-compatible with Gloomhaven, so you can play Frosthaven with Gloomhaven characters, you can play with the Jaws of the Lion characters.
Okay, well, you must answer this other question. Can it be combined with regular Gloomhaven?
Oh, so I thought I was supposed to answer both.
Yeah, no, you answer all of them. There we go. And he wants to know one more thing. D. Jackson wants to know, are there any new characters?
Well, of course, yeah, there's 17 new characters. Might as well go big.
Go big, baby. Go big.
All right, that's the question I have right now. What do you have?
All right. He's talking to the man. He's like George Lucas beside me. Come on, now.
All right, sweetheart.
Yeah.
Where's my Frosthaven, man? I've been waiting, man. Come on.
I understand the frustrations. I've been getting that question all weekend, but it's an appropriate. So yeah, what I've been saying, right, is that we started production. So it's going to be a long production because we got to do like 100,000 copies. We got to ship 100,000 copies, which, the less we talk about that, the better. But yeah, so it should be here 4 months-ish, give or take a little bit of a crisis.
Would you mind if I go silent? Would you mind if I go silent?
Sooner the better. Yeah, all right. Now, tell me what's inside the thing. Now, I kind of know, but just let us know. What's up?
Sure, yeah. I just want to talk about, what's taken so long.
Yeah.
Right? So
There's the
it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, go.
Yeah. So we've taken our time, making sure all the content is there, and it's all and we can talk about that a little later. But yeah, let's talk about this box. All right, so yeah, this thing is, I don't know what it's like. I keep chewing off. It's too tall. It's like more than 2 inches higher than Gloomhaven. So, yeah, what you're seeing here, I mean, it may look like a normal box, but it's like, it's not like.
It's big, we know, it's big, it's always big.
So yeah, when you open it up, we've got some nice overlay trays, for tokens and overlays. So, there's no more of that just loose cardboard, big enough in the box. And that is all punch boards. That's just, the unpunched punch boards. There's also plenty of punched punch boards that will be, in various other places throughout the box. So as we go down deeper, we got some sticker sheets, and we have not one, but 2 trays full of code. So we go. So we've got a tray and then a nested tray on top of that. It's vaguely similar to Gloomhaven. You got your miniatures around the side, you got your characters on the bottom, you got a well for your tiles and whatnot. So we also got a bunch of envelopes there. So if you go back up at the top, there is like a big, thick stack of how many are there? Like 20? There's not 20. Like 19, 20. Yeah. Different envelopes that you can unlock over the course of the game. Lots of fun stuff there. And there's the eight.
Come on, put this thing, man. Come on, put it. It's a baby. It's a baby.
It's still
It's a baby. I'm a crowd.
It's right here. Just like weird.
So, let's see what's going on in this next question. Well, the next thing we want to know is, tell us more about the artwork. Yes, the graphical improvements.
Yes.
All the good stuff.
All good stuff.
Yes.
So I mean, we've taken everything we've learned from Gloomhaven and put it into this game. So not only, just balancing improvements, all of that, but also, we went through the whole graphical pass on basically all the different types of cards. One of the big efforts was redesigning the character ability cards. Which were fine in Gloomhaven, but some of the classes, particularly like the Blink Blade, there was just like too much information on these cards. We wrote it all out in text, and it was just kind of a nightmare and it was hard to read. So we spent a lot of time coming up with a new system, iconography that worked, that was easy to read. And coming over from Gloomhaven, it might be like, it looks a little unfamiliar. It might take you, a game or two to get used to it. But all our playtesters, once they play with these new cards a couple times, they're like, oh yeah, this is so much better. We're really happy with how all that turned out. And then there's just new designs for the items. There, just new artwork, for the Frosthaven themes. So we've got kind of like an icy personal quest there. We also redesigned the boss cards because these bosses are complicated. There's just like too much information on them. So we had to go to 2-sided cards instead of a 4-sided card, so we had more space. I mean, this boss, this is like our kind of non-spoilery boss. He's not very complicated though. But you get the idea. We have some more complicated than that, obviously. There's a bunch of new cards. We've got item redesigns on the right there. So we have a whole set of crafted items, of course, and so you can see like how to craft them on the right side of those cards. We did a little graphical fix on the monster ability cards, basically everything. And then we have new cards as well, like the loot deck, which is really cool. It kind of replaces the money tokens in the game. So now you get loot tokens and you get to draw cards. It's more exciting, to just not know what you're getting until you draw that card and see it. Then we also have the Town Guard deck, which is kind of like an attack modifier deck, but you're going to use that when your town gets attacked. So this deck of cards is going to get modified over time by lots of like your town improvements. So it's going to be kind of like a little mini game you can play there as well. Yeah, so just there was a lot of work for Josh and our graphic design team.
Aren't you excited, man? I'm sitting there. It's me. It's all me. It's all me? All right, come on down the front here. Give us a little city tour, right? Tell us about it.
Sure, yeah. Here we go.
I'm excited, man. No, don't fine. I don't do fine. Don't do fine.
Yeah, so this is Frosthaven. It's actually not a city. We call it an outpost because it's really there's not much there. So, but yeah, you can see on the left here was the initial map that we showed you 2 years ago. It was just a sketch at that point done by Francesca Ballard. And now this is where it's at now. You know, she colored it in, looks nice. She also did, I don't know how many stickers, over 200 probably, for that map. Some of them are scenarios, others are various buildings. We can see that in a minute, but yeah, so here's the outpost itself. So as you can see, it starts off, there's not much there. There's a couple buildings you can interact with. The alchemy, the craftsman. But then, over the course of the game, you're going to collect resources. You're going to unlock buildings. That's where you are. And then you're going to be able to upgrade stuff. So one of the cool initial buildings that you can do is a hunting lodge. And this is going to, there are three main resources, right? So you got wood, you got metal, and you got hides. And so one of the buildings, or some of the buildings that you get to at the start are just going to be like your income buildings. So every time you go back to town, they're going to generate free resources for you. So hunting lodge is going to give you hides. And as you upgrade, it's going to give you more hides. It's not just that, like as you build these buildings, they're also going to give you like little story snippets in the section book. You might find some other cool stuff, so you're very motivated to continue to upgrade these buildings. I'll give you a little hint. This one, it might unlock a new character as you upgrade it. So you're upgraded, and these are some of the stickers that Francesca's made. So it gets more fancy, more elegant as you build it up and up. And so by the end of the game, you're gonna have like this really great looking city. You can say, I'll make that.
That is cool. That's cool. Now, what other mysteries, secrets, unlockables, all that good stuff that we can expect? There's a lot. Like I said, there's lots of characters to just find and as you go through the game. And we've also got this puzzle book, which is pretty cool. All the artwork in here was done by Yanis Pardine, I believe is how you pronounce it. We don't want to show you too much, obviously, because it's spoilers. You kind of see some of the artwork that he's done in there to spice it up, so it's not just like blank pages with some symbols on it. We filled it all up with some cool artwork, and obviously the artwork is going to be incorporated into the puzzles there. You can kind of see by those bottom pictures. Basically how this works is you're kind of playing like an unlock, like an exit game as you play through the campaign. And so you'll come across a puzzle in the puzzle book, and you might be able to solve it right away, but more likely than not, you'll have to go do something in the game. You'll have to go through a specific scenario or find something else over here. You'll get like hints as to what you're looking for. And then once you come across that, you'll get the information that you need to then go back to the puzzle book and solve the puzzle. That'll send you the next puzzle, or then you'll have to go over here. So it's kind of like an exit game that you're playing like throughout the entire course of the campaign. So that means I'm gonna cuss you again, right? I'm gonna cuss
I
you
don't know.
Here we go, but that sounds good though.
Once you get through the whole entire puzzle book, you're gonna find some really cool stuff there at the end to kind of like just tie the whole campaign together. I'm really excited for people to experience that.
Well, that sounds really exciting, a puzzle book. Thank you again, Isaac. Okay, I have a question for you. Stephen from Lord Game Geek would like to know, what, oh, is that Stephen? Hey, Stephen. What is the name of the Gloomhaven world, the planet, etc.?
That's what I want to know. Well, yeah, we get this question a lot, and yeah, initially, I'll admit that, you know, it was just called Gloomhaven. I didn't have a name for the world, and that's kind of what it's become known as, right, the Gloomhaven games. And I'm fine keeping it like that, but yeah, eventually we did come up with a name for the world, and it was called Cascaya.
Cascaya?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is a Savas word that means, what does it mean? It means like life rock. Yeah, or life mountain, I think. So they, you know, they kind of consider it.
You're still working on it?
It's in the back of my head somewhere. I got a lot of stuff back there. Frosthaven has taken over everything. But anyway, oh yes, yeah, they consider the whole Earth like, you know, they're the living mountain that they're part of. Yeah, so that's what they call the world, and everyone's kind of, I mean, you know, the word is not like used that frequently across the continent, but people will call it.
Well, thank you, Stephen, and thank you for showing up. I have another question.
All right.
This is from Bjorn. He would like to know, while Gloomhaven's story mostly centers around human, aesthetic, vowel rate history, I didn't think these words, that's okay.
Because you don't know it. You don't know it. You don't know it.
It's a will we see more of Quattros, Inox, Savas, Fernlings, and Orchids.
All right, yeah, nailed all those. I'm really excited to continue to explore different histories of these different peoples, and so I think in Frosthaven we'll sort of explore a little bit more history of the Quattros. You'll find out more about the Savas and like how they came to be and all that. So we're happy to continue to explore all that, and then in the future,
It's cool. All right, we're going to take some questions from the audience, but two starting off to see how it goes. So who wants to ask a question?
Ask it.
Ask the question. Okay. All right, come on.
We got a mic right there.
Good mic.
yeah, we got about
Mic right there.
20-25 minutes for questions from the audience. So
Are they coming up with hi, my name is Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Are they coming up with a companion app to work like the one that was released third party to work, say, for people who don't want to do all with the kits, or is someone else going to be, or is that, not in development?
We're working with Gloomhaven Helper. They're our licensed partner. And so we'll be, if we haven't already, we probably haven't, but we will soon. Give them all the files there so they can start working on that. So it'll be ready for when you get the game. Yep.
Nice.
Thank you for your question. We have another one?
Right there.
Hey man, what aspect of Frosthaven are you most proud of from either a designer or storyteller or creative process?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm always happy with the character designs. There's a lot of like new aspects that I can talk about as well. But to be honest, just the way all the characters turned out. Which was in large part due to all the playtesters and I got great feedback from them, and it was definitely like more of a collaborative process to refine a lot of those abilities. But the way all the characters turned out is just, I don't know, it blows my mind. Like just even playing them now, I'm like, wow, this is really cool. So I really like all the characters. I also really like the town building aspect as well. I think that turned out really well. We did a lot of playtesting of that as well, just to make sure that as you progress through the campaign, you're sort of, building up your town appropriately, quickly, so it all feels like it's all moving towards some end goal. So I'd say both those things.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Anybody else?
We can take about 3 more of you. Go ahead and line up at the mic. That will save us some time.
3.
So let's go ahead and top 3. We got 3 people. Come on, there we go. Work. All right, let's take the mic.
Yeah, we can.
So let's go. First question. All right, the ladies first. That is one for me. Yes.
Thank you. I have a two-part question. Will there be an audio guide available for Frosthaven, and will it include more than just the scenarios, like all the cards?
You mean like the foreteller narration?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's also a licensed partner we're working with. So they do have all the text already. So they're doing recordings right now. I think initially they're just doing the story text. But like they did with Gloomhaven, where they continue adding new things, I'm sure they'll. Well, I don't want to speak for them, but yeah,
Thank you.
I'm sure something.
Thank you.
Hi. Looking at the prototype box with the 2 storage trays, they look pretty full before all the punch outs were punched out. Do you expect that people are going to be able to organize in the box like it is with Jaws of the Lion? Or is the extra stuff kind of going to push people towards their situation like the original one did?
Right. We put a lot of effort into making sure things are organized both before and after punching the punch boards. So that's where all the token trays come in. They start off empty, but a lot of those are going to go in there. You do have going to be a large stack of map tiles. And then you have all your monsters that we provided bags for this time. And so you put those all in the bags, like in Jaws of the Lion. And then a lot of that stuff, the monster bags and the map tiles, we are intending for you to just kind of put that on top of the box. And there might be like a little bit of lid lift. No lid lift. No lid lift. All right, never mind. No lid lift. Benefits and accounts.
So I don't want to speak for others, but I know playing Gloomhaven, there was definitely times where character groupings on specific scenarios got really, really difficult. For instance, just not having enough fast damage on some scenarios, especially oozes, for instance. You know, get them down and not suddenly have 8,000 of them on the board. Is that something that was taken into consideration with scenario and character design in Frosthaven, that, hey, coming in within a suboptimal group, this might not necessarily be achievable, or is it just kind of, hey, you've got your party, figure it out?
Yeah. I will say just like baseline, you'll encounter like less or maybe even no like suboptimal groups. It's 2-player parties, you probably find some combinations that don't work very well together. But yeah, we did spend a lot of time making sure the characters are more rounded, I guess, so that they can handle lots of different situations. They'll encounter less fragile situations. Like summoners in the old game, characters that summoned monsters or summoned allies, could have a hard time in certain situations, where you're dealing with a lot of damage at once. You're summoned to die, and you're just kind of sitting there. We've balanced that out to make sure all the characters are less fragile, so you get less likely to run into those situations where you're just like, I can't do anything. And then a lot of our playtesting was focused on kind of, okay, with this scenario, these classes are probably gonna be bad for this scenario, so let's test them with those classes and make sure it works out. There's a lot of tuning of scenarios to make sure that there wasn't one class that just did really poorly, that every class worked for every scenario.
Thank you.
That's my question about 2 players versus 4 players. What kind of rules changes or balance concerns did you do for balancing 2 versus 4? Like donations to the shrine, 2 versus 4 in the first game, right? It was a lot harder for 2 players.
So the campaign progression, because obviously you're collecting resources, at 4 players you're going to be collecting more resources, except you're not, right? Because the loot cards that you're going to get are going to be scaled to the number of players, right? So in a 2-player game, so you get a wood or a lumber card, and it'll say, you get 1 wood if you're a 4-player group, or you get 2 wood if it's 2 or 3 players. So you'll actually ideally collect the same amount of resources at any player count. And that's really like the main driving force of the campaign progression is collecting these resources. Because then you'll be able to build buildings, and that's sort of how that goes. There was a lot of focus there also on personal quests. You're gonna achieve fewer personal quests with 2 players as opposed to 4 players. So we've added sort of this new resource called Inspiration, which is mainly just focused on making sure that's balanced. So every time you go through a scenario, if you complete it, you'll get a number of inspiration equal to like 4 minus the number of players. So you'll get 2 and 2 players, but you won't get any 4 players. And then whenever you complete a personal quest, you have the opportunity to spend 15 inspiration, if you have it, to just like unlock or immediately complete another personal quest as well. So yeah, it's kind of a balancing system where basically every 15 scenarios, however many characters you're down, you'll get that many free personal quests. So yeah, it should work out pretty well.
But we have to cut off. We can't have anybody else get in line, so we're cutting off at you, okay? Thank you. Thank you.
First, congrats and thank you. And I was wondering if, the Beyond piece, are there going to be a similar product to Jaws? Because my family plays games and we struggled learning Gloomhaven, especially with the younger kids, until Jaws came out and we got them through that. And now they're really enjoying Gloomhaven. Can we expect a similar product for Frosthaven where it's kind of a primer quest with all the changes taken into consideration to help our family learn and participate in Frosthaven?
Yes, that's a good question. I'll try to answer it as best I can. So, I mean, it's something that we've thought about, but we don't have any concrete plans to do. So we do have Jaws of the Lion out there, right, for people who want to learn to get into that system. And a lot of this stuff in Frosthaven, right, is like your town building, which I think would be a little more difficult to manage in a smaller box, but we might be able to figure out something. So, it's still in talks. We're still trying to figure it out. But yeah, I mean, Jaws of the Lion was very successful for us. So, it'd be silly not to pursue that in some regard.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you for making all of our board games lives so much more richer. My question for you is, when you developed Forgotten Circles, you had this other place where you kind of had to stop in the middle of the scenario to kind of unlock when doors opened, and you kind of had to balance because you heard some feedback about knowing too much in Gloomhaven, but then there was the balance of too much stalling and setup for Forgotten Circles. Yeah. How have you balanced that in Frosthaven?
That's a very good question. So we did want to keep like a bit of that sense of the unknown that you get to see in Forgotten Circles. I know people like to play the game in different ways, and some people like to know all the information up front. But yeah, we are still kind of sticking to that system where you're not sure what is in the next room until you actually open the door. You can't just look at the map on the same page and see, which I think is important. I agree that Forgotten Circles had like a little too much unknown information, especially with the maps, right? You didn't even know how to set up the map until you open that door. So now you've got to go and get your map tiles, you've got to go get everything. So with Frosthaven, there's a lot more information up front than there was in Forgotten Circles, but just not the specific layouts of the monsters in each room. So you'll see, a full picture of all the map tiles that you'll need and how they'll be arranged. So you can still arrange those on your table to start with. So you know how much space it's going to take up, and all the monsters that you'll need, and how to set up the blue deck and all that. So it's basically all the information you need except for the monster setups for each room and maybe any special rules. Other surprises we want to throw at you, but none of that is going to involve, like going back into the box and searching for stuff. Like you should be able to set up everything you need, or at least put to the side everything you need for the scenario, and then go from there. Thank you.
Thank you all for your questions.
Thank you.
I actually have more questions. So, Kenzel, I hope it's right, Kendall Azaris from Gloomhaven subreddit community would like to know, are there plans to introduce scenario difficulty levels beyond level 7 in Gloomhaven or Frosthaven for those who are seeking a late game hardcore challenge?
Right.
That's him.
There are different levels of people that play Frosthaven, I would say. You know, you've got people who are, you know, just coming to the game, they're having a good time, and then there are people who want to map out everything, you know, just really max out their character and see how far it can go. And I don't know if you know this, but a lot of those people are also motivated to become playtesters for us. So yeah, we've definitely explored that more in Frosthaven. So yeah, we still will only go up to level 7, but level 6 and 7 are a lot more difficult than they were in Gloomhaven. So the kind of like general metric was like monsters get about like twice as powerful every like 3 or 4 levels, but going from 5 to 7, they also then become twice as more powerful. So it's a little more narrowed there to give you more difficulty. I'll also say, right, again, like the Frosthaven classes are just a lot better balanced, right? So you're not going to get this like the power creeps that you get on some of the classes in Gloomhaven, right? So where you're just like super powerful, and even if it's level 7, you're just going to walk over everybody. Like that's going to be less the case. So yeah, if you're using Frosthaven characters at level 7, it's going to be a definite challenge. That you're really going to enjoy, if you enjoy challenges, or you're just going to get murdered and then say, why did I do that?
All right, I have another question. User Pekka says, please release some miniatures for the game. Even as an add-on, everything is better than the standard.
All right. I'm not sure I agree, but yeah, I mean, you guys saw the size of the box, right? Miniature is just, I don't know, it's a lot. So yeah, I mean, I think just you know, being responsible, it's already too big. You know, standings for monsters is the way to go. So it's what we got to do. And you know, I've talked a lot about this in the past. You know, just yeah, I don't know, it's a thing. It's a whole thing. I don't know.
Well, I got a question. I got a question right here. Okay, user at church said, really wish they would have included miniatures on the enemy. You know, yeah, the enemy, the miniatures for the enemy. You know, what?
Wait, is this the same question?
Okay, another question. Hold on, another question. What if the mini?
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice. How's the light?
Cut him off! We got miniatures, y'all! That's a big one now. Come on, y'all know y'all wanted that. Let's go.
So yeah. Still not 100% sure how I feel about it. You know, it's going to be a lot of miniatures, guys.
Yeah.
It's going to be expensive. It's going to be a big box.
Oh dang. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, that's what we're planning on for next year. Not sure when we're going to do it, but it'll be a crowdfunding campaign.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the plan is to split them up into 3 groups. So we're doing all of it, right? We're doing Gloomhaven, we're doing Frosthaven, we're doing Childres, we're on circles. And you know, there's obviously some overlap between all those different games. So it's a little difficult to like break it up by game. So we just kind of broke it up into 3 products by theme of the monsters. So we've got like cold type monsters, we've got more like humanoid type monsters, and then everything else pretty much. We're still experimenting.
Yeah, we're still exploring that. That's not official, but yeah. Price is not our tech over here. But yeah, so yeah, it's a crowdfunding thing. We don't know where it's going to go yet, in terms of what platform. And so, we're still exploring that as well. But yeah, like I said, it's going to be big. It's a lot of miniatures. It's going to be expensive. Don't feel like you have to get it.
You gotta do it in person. You gotta get it.
Plan for miniatures, this project. Otherwise, we're still working on other stuff. But we'll be announcing in the future as well.
That being said.
What they got? What they gonna get from?
All right, yes. We have miniatures here. We've hired sculptors. They've already done a lot of work. We've already worked with a factory to get final production quality miniatures to you today. As you exit, you can talk to one of these fine gentlemen back here, and they will hand you a blind box. So as you saw, we've got 6 different figures so far. Which is a monster from Frosthaven. We got the Algox Guard, which is my favorite, the big beefy dude with the axe and the sword, who's also from Frosthaven. We got the Acer Ashblade, Forgotten Circles, and the City Guard from Gloomhaven, and the Inox Priest from Gloomhaven as well. And what am I missing? Oh, a Jaws of the Lion. What's the Jaws of the Lion?
We got the Vermling Raiders.
Vermling Raider, that's right, yeah. Dude with the spikes, he's also super cool. So yeah, you can actually see them in person, see what we're dealing with.
All right.
Well, you know what, we want to thank
Yeah.